we are talking about leaving this particular civic education or voter education to these politicians who are crisscrossing the country. What are the dangers? Because you do remember last year what South Mugirango Member of Parliament Osoro was telling his people: if you do not take that voter's card, do not come for that bursary. We even saw other politicians giving gifts like soda, mkate and all that. What are the dangers of leaving the education, when it comes to voter education, to the politicians?
First and foremost, Osoro was very wrong, because at the end of the day, that bursary you're talking about, or that lobbying to get that road courtesy of Kura, or whatever, that is their right as a citizen. It is your right. You see, when they make sure you get a road, that should not be a favor. Taxpayers' money is what brings that to you. That is your duty as a member of parliament. Now, the danger in leaving this access to politicians, just like you said, the soda and what have you, brings about corruption. Because now, you see, the sad reality is that we are a weird country, where for you to be told to go and register as a voter, you have to be paid. You realize, I have to pay you 150 or 150, 200 shillings to go and get a voter so that you vote for me. You see, that in itself is corruption, because I am corrupting you morally. So that I know now this, they talk about, that is my basket, those are my votes. That's a sad reality. As a Kenyan, you need to be awake to the realization that that is your duty. It's a civic duty. You don't have to be paid for you to go and vote. But if it gets to such a point, when you're talking about ending corruption, it's never going to end, because the process in itself, for example, if you're vying for a seat and you spend that amount of money, let's say probably 50 million for an MP seat, what you don't realize as the voter is that when that person gets to office and he'll tell you, they have to recover that 50 million. Actually, they recover times 5.
Correct.
So before they start working for you, they're thinking about how I'm going to recover. They have your CDF they are going to use, part of it. They're going to make deals to make the money. So when are you going to be served as a citizen? So you are an enabler to corruption. So it starts from you as a voter. And unless we change, we are experiencing the next 5 years will be the same. Nothing's going to be different. So the voters need to wake up to the realization that voting is your duty. No one should come and coerce you, or no one should come and persuade you to vote. You should realize that after 5 years, I have one job. I have to vote. Garbage in, garbage out. That is how you move. So if you don't wake up to that realization, we'll have the jokers that we have, the likes of Osoro, like you just said, who say that if you don't register, don't come for a bursary. It doesn't make sense. It's not a favor. That's a sad reality. So moving forward, this is why I'm taking it back to the voter. You see, this exercise that ABC is doing, the mass registration, this is more or less like a big exercise, but that exercise is always continuous during the course of the year. So you don't have to wait for today, because some will say, oh, the shortage, it's between 7th and 6th, 17th and 6th February.
Yes.
It's a short period. What have you been doing for 5 years if you're not registered? If you finished school last year, that's okay. You have an excuse, but you should also make sure you get registered. Because we have those who are not 18 in 2017, but now they're 18, so they need to vote. Because you realize the laws that will come in place will be applied on you. So if they're going to make useless laws, they're going to apply on you. And if they're going to harm anyone, it is you as the voter. So you wake up to the realization that I have a duty to protect my interest. How do you protect your interest? Put in someone who will cater for those interests that will serve you better. Yeah.
Fred, back to that issue of the clerks. IBC clearly stated last year the reason as to why they wanted more youths to come out. They even attracted the youths to become clerks that are supposed to be sitting there and using their connections to tell more people to come out. Do you think this time, even if they take those youths and make them clerks in this particular exercise that is currently underway in the country, will that work?
Of course. I've been a clerk before. I've worked for IBC. I've worked for IBC since 2010. I worked for IBC during the referendum. 2013, I worked for IBC. And the reality of the matter is that even if they don't tell the youth, the people that will apply most the jobs are the youth. And the only people I'm appealing for IBC to consider adding into the group, because in a single station, like you may get like in an entire ward, we only have maybe 2 or 4 registration clerks. My quest is for them to introduce another caliber of the team into this. IBC volunteers, they can come up with any name to call them. It is from this volunteering club that they will be able to get voting clerks. Because now in the voting clerks, there are many. Leave alone the registration clerks. Voting clerks are many. Because in every voting station, we have every clerk for every candidate, every seat, sorry. We have a clerk that will be giving forms for the women rep, for the Senate, for the MCA, for the president, and blah, blah. We have clerks that will be aligning people on the line. We have another clerk that will be putting inks on the finger. We will have another clerk that will be looking at the register. There's so many clerks that will be employed. And this team of clerks is for a specific classroom that has around 700 voters. So in a place where there's so many voters, there's so many clerks. This team is not the same team that does voter registration. In voter registration, a very minimal number. Not so many clerks qualified to do voter registration. So this other lot, instead of them just coming to the electioneer period, they should also be considered to be here during voter registration exercise. This is the same people that should be able to be assigned duties to go deep inside into the villages, into even Chang'aa and Busa dens. Because if you go into a Chang'aa den today in my village, what wameja up, as early as 8 a.m., those days, those people have not registered as voters. This is the team that should be able to be given a mandate. We should not just squarely leave this role to chiefs and assistant chiefs. The youth will listen to a fellow youth. It is easy for a comrade to convince a comrade to register as a voter. So, even in these institutions of higher learning, we should have IBC volunteers who are able to mobilize their comrades to come out and register as in large numbers. If IBC did whatever I'm saying today on Ebru TV, trust me, they'll hit that target. Yes.
And of course, back to that issue called voter apathy. It's a new year, Nurdin, and we're still talking about the same issue. When it comes to solving that particular matter, some of these youths, Nurdin, we see them attending rallies. Where is the disconnection? They attend rallies, but they do not want to take that voter's card and vote for that person they're listening to on top of that V8.
You know why they attend rallies? Because there's something called mobilization fee. So you're mobilized. Someone comes and tells you tomorrow there's a meeting here. And so we need numbers. You know, politics are art of persuasion, and sometimes they say, you see, perception. Perception. So if I have a huge crowd, it means I resonate more with the people. If I have a huge crowd, I'm trying to intimidate my opponent. So they will rally around and mobilize so many young people. If you're given 500 shillings, you didn't have anything, you will take it. That is why, even when you look at, for example, Kiamba, those who were in the rallies were the youth. But those who voted were old women. So people asking themselves, Vijana, where did they go to all of a sudden? The thing is, they came for that 500, 1,000, 300, 200,
or
so,
50.
Or 50, like he says, or 50, so that they can actually get something to eat. So it's the level of poverty that makes most of them go for those rallies. It's not that they go there to listen, because they know I've been paid. So let me just go there, attend, because there's a fee. So you go there, you make that killing, you go back home.